Hello, Mr. Chang, back. I'm going to go through problems 1, 2, and 3 on Mark My Line, the Match My Line challenge. And yeah, first I'm going to describe and just break down each problem and give you a strategy for how to do it. And then the back half of the video, I'll actually go into depth, some techniques and strategies that you can use. So first part, we're going to talk about each problem and just make sure we break it down and you understand what to do and how to follow the directions. And then the second half of this video, we're actually going to talk about the different ways to calculate slope, and I'll work through a couple of examples. All right, let's see if that works. Anyways, here's your first challenge. Okay, it says adjust the equation of the line so that it passes through the points. Adjust the equation of the line so the line passes through the points. So you've got an equation, y equals 2x, and that represents that red line that you see. This equation matches this red line. And remember from the previous primer video, when you see y equals 2x, that is still an equation of a line. It means that the y-intercept is 0. So you don't see the variable b in this line. You just see y equals 2x because the y-intercept is 0. 0 is nothing. You don't need to see it. Anyways, so y equals 2x is the equation of a line. It's this red line right here. And you need to adjust this equation so that it can pass through the points. That's the point here at the origin. And then that's this other point here, which is actually at 4, 2. 4 on the x-axis, 2 on the y. Now, my suggestion for you on this is just try different numbers for slope. I always use blue for the slope. So your slope, which is also little m, we use the little m for slope, is 2. So play with different numbers. Just change this 2 to like a 1, to like a -1, use negative numbers, use fractions, and just see what happens, right? -3, what happens? Oh, my line dips very steep, going down underneath the x-axis. Play with different numbers. That is my suggestion, just so you have an idea of what different slopes do to a line. Just put in different numbers. Use fractions, right? And you'll get a sense for how slope changes the steepness of a line. That is my suggestion for challenge number 1. You're only just putting in different values for the slope. That's the best way to do it. My suggestion, at least. Okay, so that's challenge number 1. We broke it down. Let's go to challenge number 2. So challenge number 2 now, you have to plot 6 different lines, okay? Plot 6 different lines. Each line should pass through the origin and one of the 6 points. 1 is done for you. Then press check my work, okay? So you're gonna plot 6 different lines, and it says each line should pass through the origin and one of 6 points. So you see over on the left, you've got your origin, which is right here. That's 0, 0. And then you've got to write equations for number 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that refers to this point. This will be number 1. This is number 2. And you can see that this is done already for you. This is point 3 for line 3. This is the point that you need to go through for line 4. This is the point for line 5. And this is the point for line 6. Now, the other thing, okay, when you are done and you press check my work, what you should notice is that every single line, you're going to have 6 red lines. And they are all going to pass through the origin. You're going to have something that looks a bit like a giant blossom or just a bunch of lines that are all crossing at the origin. So it's going to look like a big explosion, okay? And all of the action, and they all intersect at the origin, 0, 0. So you know you are done and you've got it all correct when you have something that looks like an explosion where all the lines intersect at the origin. And the great thing about this, this problem is that you can just keep clicking check my work. You can just put as many different equations that you want to try out in here as you want. And just keep changing them, keep clicking check my work and see if you get what you want. So don't just do it once, press check my work and leave. You can do this as many times as you want. Okay? Do it as many times as you want. And just like the previous problem, you're entering in the equation of the line. You're just doing y equals slope times x, and you're just going to be putting in different values for slope. Okay? There's no y-intercept here. Everything is going through the origin, so your y-intercept is 0. So you're just putting different numbers in for m. And you're going to, just have lots of, you're going to write 5 different equations here. Y equals, y equals, y equals. Some number m. Make sure you follow this format. It's y equals m times x. Okay? You need the y equals some number times x for each of these. All right. And they're all going to be different. So you're going to have different numbers. So I'm going to put a little m1, m3, m4, m5, m6. M is not one number. You're going to have 5 different slopes because you have 5 different lines and 5 different points that you're going to go through. All right, so that is what you should be doing on challenge number 2. Now, let's move on to the third part of this problem, or the third part of this, the third question that I'm going to go through on this video, which is page number 4 in Desmos. It's called Settle a Dispute. It says Mark thinks the equation y equals 4 plus 6x will match the red solid graph. Mia thinks it will match the blue dotted graph. Who's right, Mia or Mark? Mia or Mark? Explain your thinking. So let's break this down. You've got to do a couple things here. It says Mark thinks the equation y equals 4 plus 6x will match the red solid line. So this is what Mark thinks. Oops. Mark. And Mia thinks that equation will match the blue. This is Mia. Okay? And they're both looking at this equation right here. Y equals 4 plus 6x. They're both looking at this equation, and only one of them is right. So you just got to select who you think is right. Mark and the red line, or Mia and the blue dotted line. Who is right? This equation, y equals 4 plus 6x. Do you think it's Mark? Mark is red. Or do you think it's Mia with the blue line, the blue dotted line? Then you've got to explain your thinking. Okay, you've got to write an explanation. And I think the best explanations really revolve around your understanding of slope, right? So here's a good sentence starter for how you might approach this. You might say, I think it is, oops, I think blank is right. That's either Mark or Mia. I think this because the slope of the line is blank, and I know blank's line matches. And then you got to give a reason. And actually, I'm going to do this a better way. I think this, why don't I get rid of this first? Because the slope of the line from the original equation is blank. And blank's line matches this because, and then explain. How do you know? That is an awesome, dot, 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 dot. That's a great way to describe or explain your thinking and your answer. Okay, so you're picking whose line matches the equation, and then you're going to write an explanation. You're going to hit enter. Then you'll move on to the next part. I'll have another video for that. This first part of the video, again, is just describing to you the 3 questions, and making sure you understand what you need to do to answer them. The back half of this video, I'm actually going to walk through, and I'm just going to talk about slope in depth and give you some hints and some starters on answering these questions. All right, stay tuned for that. Pause here if you just want to rewind and think about these problems. Keep watching if you're ready to learn a little bit more about how to approach slope.